Hello, and welcome to Rainy Tuesdays, a podcast by friends for friends. We have been chatting for an hour and a half without starting this podcast, so we're going to jump right into it and not say anything else. I think we were talking about Jeff Bezos and how he should not come back to
Jeff
Earth once he leaves.
Bezos. Yeah, so he quit technically, but also like it was meaningless because he's still like a big person on the company's board.
Always
He's
is.
still on
I
the
feel
board.
like
He's
very
still
frequently
Right.
corporations are like, hey, the founder quit. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, but he's still like, the majority stockholder or
Right.
on the board of directors or whatever. It's like they didn't really do anything.
Yeah, like he's still profiting from everything that Amazon does to people.
Yeah, like maybe he's not
Um,
running day-to-day operations, but he still has a big hand in how the business is run and is making all the money from it.
Also, I think it's very funny. So he's going to space, right? Like that's his whole thing. That's his new shtick. But it's like it's weird, and I'm not a scientist or an astronaut, so I guess I don't all the way understand it. But he's not actually going into space. He's like going to the edge of like
Yeah,
the
it's like
atmosphere.
a low orbit thing, so you're not
Yeah,
breaking the atmosphere, or maybe
but
he's
the
no, it's like something
T,
like getting
he's
close.
going to like where the International Space Station is for that level because it's
right.
like he's going 60 miles up, which like doesn't sound like that lot, but really space is about like 3 miles up.
Yeah.
So,
Like he's closer than I'll ever get. But like the tea about it is there's some other billionaire, I forget his name because I don't know, he's not in the news every week like Jeff Bezos is. But he's also going to space again, just technically. But it's apparently like 1 mile lower than where Jeff Bezos is. But it's 9 days before.
oh
Um,
yes, I did see this.
yeah. So someone like interviewed him and they were like, "Are you doing this just to like say you did it before Jeff Bezos?" And he was like, "Jeff who?" And like trying to be like, no one's gonna remember that. But then Jeff Bezos is also like, "Well, I'm actually going higher than you are," and it's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. Is billionaires fighting about who's closer to space? Like,
Yeah. Have you also seen the fact of like there's like a certain number of people going with Jeff? Like he's bringing his brother with.
mhm.
He's bringing a lady who was supposed to go to space in like the 60s but wasn't able to, which that's actually really cool.
Yeah, that's nice of him.
But then he's got like other people that he's not announced yet, and
Right.
he's like making like big things of like, ooh, look, this person's coming too. Like
Didn't
we
he
got
have
Quavo
like
here or something. I don't know. It's like, why are you acting like this is so cool? It's just your billionaire friends. But also,
right?
the funny thing too is that he's got like they're doing a charity like raffle thing where, or it's not like a raffle, but like they're doing like a bid thing
Yeah.
where the bid currently is at like $28 million to
Right.
like ride to space, and it's going to charity, and it's like this man is worth billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Why is he auctioning things off to charity? He could just give his money away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen that a lot of like Jeff Bezos could just donate tons of money somewhere and just fix big world issues because he just has this absurd amount of money to do so. But instead, he spent it to have like a dick measuring contest with some other billionaire to get
Yeah.
a slightly higher space than this other dude. Like,
Yeah.
you have tons of money. Just start fixing things. Why are
Oh
you
my god.
why doing this?
Did you guys see that video where people were bullying him?
Yes. It's
I
very
love
funny.
that video. It's just like I assume couple sitting outside at a restaurant and he's walking past to his car. And the woman in the couple goes, "Hey Jeff, shame you don't have any hair. If only money could fix that." It was just very funny. But yeah, I support bullying billionaires. They
It
need it.
was a TikTok too,
Oh, so
which
I
you'd
seen a
know if
TikTok.
you got one,
Mhm.
like you said you would on a previous episode of this podcast.
Right. And I still maintain that I will.
You're gonna be on your deathbed and you're gonna be like
I'll
reaching for
download
your
TikTok.
phone to download TikTok.
Yeah. That's the goal. But I will get it. Pinky swear. I really don't want to see dancing teens. That's my biggest thing. Is it's like I'm gonna be so annoyed And I'm going to feel so bad because everyone has been hyping TikTok up to me and I'm going to get it. And I'm just going to get so irrationally angry at the fact that these teens are just like twerking on nothing. And then I'm going to have to be like, I don't want to watch this. And TikTok kind of sucks. And then everyone's going to be like, Margo, no, it doesn't. I'm going to be like, "Yeah, but it does. And I'm never going to
See,
be on it long enough
but
to
it
Yeah.
change it
doesn't.
from sucking.
Margot, I like that you have the same motivation as the villains from Footloose. Of no dancing allowed.
It's not that dancing isn't allowed. It's just that I don't want to see teenagers dance. Like, I don't care. And that seems like all I know about TikTok.
There's a lot more than
There's a
that.
lot more.
That's like saying
I know.
Snapchat is just for pictures.
Exactly. What a moronic thing to say.
You know, the thing it's designed for.
Yeah.
But I think like my thing about it is, so when you first download TikTok, you get just a general For You page.
It
And
tries to
that's
figure out your interests.
right. Because like the algorithm doesn't know you yet and it can't show you like lesbian TikTok or like D&D TikTok like you guys have. Like it would take time to know that I want to see lesbians in D&D.
Yeah, somehow
and so-
that's my TikTok is lesbians. I don't actually really get D&D anymore. I just literally like I woke up this morning and every single video was lesbian or just general LGBTQ stuff. I was like, well, I don't really fit this, but yep, that's
but you're
my
an
TikTok.
ally.
Yeah. I had that
Adam
issue on
brings the
Instagram.
A to the acronym. Oh my god. But yeah, so like I know that when I first open it up, it's just gonna be like Charlie D'Amelio and like Addison Rae like shaking their ass and being like, aha, ooh. And it's like I don't care.
I don't
But
know
that's
who
why you
Addison Rae is.
She's
just
the
a-
other
just
one
the
that's like in a
other
big fight.
Okay.
Charlie.
fight.
Oh, there's a
I thought-
big fight.
I thought they were
Ooh.
friends,
I think it's like
or at least cordial to each other.
I think it's a fake fight. I also shouldn't be the person trying to pretend like I know. I know like three things
TikTok
about
expert.
Yeah,
them.
here's resident TikTok
Margo.
expert Margo.
TikToker.
In opposition to Ryan and I, who actually use TikTok
Mhm.
frequently.
Yeah, it was on. So like, there's this one like YouTube like news roundup, right? And they always have like an entertainment section, and there's been like 3 TikTok ones in the past like month. And so I know that like I don't think that they run in the same circle. I think their fight is from their fans, which is something I've wanted to talk about for a while. I think stan culture needs to stop.
Yes, I had a hot take to my girlfriend the other day that I think people shouldn't be allowed to be fans of things.
I agree.
I think and
Wholeheartedly.
obviously, I mean like the people who get crazy into stuff and
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
parasocial relationships and all this nonsense stuff. But that like stan whatever, like I have been recently getting into like drama. There's this subreddit called Hobby Drama, which does like write-ups on various drama in communities. And pretty much every drama can be boiled down to the fans of whatever and the fans of whatever else suck. And that's it.
Yeah.
It's just like people care way too much about things and but to the point that they'll like attack people over it.
Yeah.
It's like not even that they like this thing, it's that they just want to defend it so much and they go
Right.
after things. And for like, it'll happen too where it'll be like, hey, this YouTuber sexually assaulted someone. And his fans will be like, who cares? He's funny. And it'll attack people.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
what is happening here?
Yeah.
That happens
And
all the
obviously,
time.
I understand this is such a small subset of people who actually,
But they're the vocal one.
but they're the
It's
vocal
the whole
ones.
vocal minority
And
thing.
yes,
Like,
it's just such a.
and
Stop.
it's so I was thinking about this a lot because I have a friend. She's such a sweetheart. I love her so much. She is like a big Taylor Swift fan, like big Olivia Rodrigo fan, right? But she's like very into it, and like she knows all the drama that's going on in like their stan communities, but like she's not like the type of person that's going and like posting on other people's like other celebrities being like you should kill yourself because
You
Taylor
know,
doesn't like you.
Like a normal person.
Right. Like she exists like a normal human being. But like it's just and like I always feel bad because like in my mind I'm like I really hate Taylor Swift fans. But like, you can't say that because then she'd be like, I'm a fan of Taylor Swift. And it's like, that's not the same.
And that's the thing, like, there's so many things like that where it'll be like, oh, I kind of
Yeah.
I've heard good things, but I also know fans of this are so bad. Like Rick and Morty is
Awful.
one that comes to mind pretty
Oh my
obviously.
God, the fans
A
are annoying.
lot of people I know like Rick and Morty, but I will never want to watch it
Mhm.
because the fans are so bad. And I don't think it's really my style.
Yeah,
But
and that's
it's like
I don't
people
know.
just get so aggressive about certain things, and you'll be like, oh, well, now I don't want to be associated with these people.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting with Rick and Morty because like Rick and Morty used to be huge, like almost like 5 years ago now. Jeez, yeah.
Yeah.
But like the fact the fandom was so crazy
So toxic.
and out there and very toxic, like killed that show. Like there's a new season coming out and no one's talking about it.
I didn't know.
I think I
never
saw an
watched it, so
ad
I don't know.
once, maybe
Yeah.
on YouTube, and it was like, oh,
Sure.
that's a
It's
thing
bad.
still.
Right.
Mhm.
It's really interesting. But it's crazy to me with the whole like Britney movement that's going on right now, right? Because like there's the whole free Britney thing, right? And it's like that's great. And so long as you understand like the legal side of it, then like I can respect anyone who's like, hey, we should stop this. Because like if there's it's really important, and I think it's really shitty like what's going on with her and everything like that, right? But what I don't understand is the people who like in one post are like hashtag free Britney, but then in another post are like sharing and hyping up like these like paparazzi people that are like stalking their favorite TikToker, you know? Because it's like this is a lot of the stuff that like led to Britney having a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
And she's like talked about that at this point, where it's like a bunch of these people completely invading her privacy constantly.
Mhm.
Was such a horrible point in her life, and like she felt like she couldn't exist or do anything. And then like you have things like with I know Olivia Rodrigo isn't like a TikTok person, but she's another person that I know has had a lot of paparazzi constantly because of how quickly she blew up. It's like scary. It's like
Mhm.
you can't like be pro like knowing everything about this person, but then also anti what it did to them. Like
Yeah.
what? That doesn't make sense.
I think it's crazy too. I mean, I think there's like two subgenres of this of like with younger sort of celebrities like Charlie D'Amelio and like Olivia
Yeah.
Rodrigo. Both of them are really young
Super young.
and like I don't know, a lot of people criticize them and it's like, yeah, I guess some of these criticisms are valid, but like also they're like 17, 18
Right.
maybe and like you're going to make mistakes at that age and like to
Absolutely.
have like such a popular like I don't know, just be so popular and so famous at that age, you're gonna make mistakes, and like people are expecting them to be perfect is crazy.
That's another thing. This could be a whole topic of itself, but
Yeah.
I always get mad when people. This is actually way too big of a topic, but I'll sum it up so we can go back. People get mad for this exact reason when people are like, "Oh, they did this thing." It's like, yeah, but she's also 16,
Like
or
a
maybe
child, yeah.
I think she just turned 16 recently, like 15. Like she's a kid. Kids
Right.
aren't. They're still developing. Kids are gonna make mistakes. Not everyone's
Yeah.
perfect. We're not perfect. We're only
No,
22. People
Yeah.
way older than us aren't perfect. Like people can make mistakes, and people shouldn't
Yeah.
just be instantly shamed and like canceled for doing like one thing wrong.
I said like a
Exactly.
month ago to someone, I was like, I don't like that Charlie D'Amelio is like so famous at her age. And they took that to mean like, you don't like Charlie D'Amelio? Like, what's wrong with you kind of thing. And I'm like, no, I don't have any problem with her. I don't know her. I don't care about her. What I care about is the fact that it's like so incredibly problematic to have like everyone knowing everything about you when you're 16.
Mhm.
Like
Having
that's
security guards at age 17.
right.
Yeah.
That's absurd. You're not going to live a normal life to any degree. And I know that
Mhm.
like there's the whole thing that people will say like, oh, when you're a celebrity you give up like the right to a normal life. And it's like
Which
no
is
no no
stupid.
no no.
Yeah.
There's still
It's
people. Like
it's crazy too because like I don't know, I think there's like a difference. It's still like a weird situation for like both Olivia and Charlie, but
yeah.
like Charlie just started posting on TikTok like just for fun
Right.
and then it blew up into this big thing.
Yeah.
So like I don't know, I guess you can like sort of expect it. It's not good, but you can expect it with like music and television.
Right.
But just even that, like, oh, this is just
It's
you blow up one day.
yeah, and then like there's the whole thing with Olivia Rodrigo and Joshua Bassett, where it's like uh they were dating, right? And he was arguably too old for her. Um and then they broke up, right? And it's like that's fine, that's normal, that's whatever. But then like she released driver's license. And I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but he was like in the hospital like the day after it came out. Because like he had like a heart condition, like just normally. But then like the amount of stress because of the amount of like hate that he was getting like sent it into like an overdrive kind of thing, and he literally like almost died um because of fans like attacking him.
Dang.
And like
Jeez.
obviously there was also like the underlying, he did have another health issue that was
Mhm.
like there and like would have shown up at some point anyway, but like they were like, yeah, no, stress is definitely not something that helped this situation. And it's like, that's ridiculous. That's so stupid. You should not be that invested in someone's breakup that you don't know. Does the song bump? Absolutely. Can you listen to the song and be like, yo, this slaps 100%. But like, don't go and attack someone you don't know on behalf of someone you don't know. Like, I don't know. It's just
Are the songs about him? I heard something about that. I don't know like anything about this
oh,
topic. I've
sure.
just started watching High School the Musical, the
So good.
series.
Right. Um, yeah, so it's theorized that it's about him. Nothing has been
Okay.
said that would make anyone believe it's about someone else. Like everyone's pretty certain that
Or
it's,
just like a general
or just like a general
idea.
like yeah, like right. I know
That's what
that
I was thinking, but
like
yeah.
that would make sense. I know that driver's license has been like pretty much all but confirmed to be about him. Like that one she's like alluded to a lot more, but then like everyone just kind of assumed that like the boy oriented songs on Sour were also about him, but I don't think I've seen anything about that. But also the songs on Sour aren't all about like boys and being broken up with. Some
Yeah,
of them
I
are
was gonna
about like
say
other
this.
stuff.
This is also unrelated, but I
Mhm.
see this parallel. Like when Taylor Swift came out, she got super popular, and then people criticized her constantly for being like, "Oh, you're only talking about breakups and don't get
Right.
broken up with Taylor Swift," or all these
Right.
things of
Everyone
like.
all right.
And now
Yeah.
Olivia Rodrigo is also releasing breakup songs, a very popular genre, and she's experiencing all the same things. Like my
Yeah.
Mhm.
brother and his friends were doing this of like, oh, can she only do breakup songs? It's like, I don't know if you've bothered to listen to anything other than just what's popular, but yeah,
Right.
she can do other things.
Like there's other
Just
songs on the same EP that are just blatantly about
and
women.
even if
Like
she was just doing breakup songs, there's
yeah,
nothing wrong with that.
there isn't.
Whatever.
It's such a weird like slut shamey thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's strange. But I also I I don't know. I think Hollywood just makes me uncomfortable. Like
Yeah.
now I'm thinking about just like Olivia Rodrigo and like I know that she's apparently gotten like really, really close with like Taylor Swift and everything. And it's like, it's not that I think that there's anything like inherently wrong with that. It's just that I think it can be problematic for like a freshly 18-year-old to like be taken under the wing by someone who's like been in Hollywood for a long time. You know, like it's just like you see that happen a lot. Like, I don't know. I know that there was like a thing with Sia that was like really problematic. I don't know. All I know is that it's just like I think Hollywood is inherently gross, especially towards children, um, and I wish it would stop.
Mhm. I also
Yeah.
think we were talking about paparazzi earlier and just
Mm.
people being invested with, like celebrities' lives. I
Yeah,
don't know if you guys
stop
saw
it.
that stuff about like Tom Holland and
Yeah,
Zendaya.
I was literally going to
Yeah,
bring that up.
I was like, I don't care if they're
Yeah,
dating. All
stop
it's like
right.
this doesn't
caring.
matter
I
to me.
don't
And
care
I
though. Yeah.
actually, because there's these pictures that I mean, it kind of looks like they're kissing. I don't know if it kind of, I don't know. It looks like
Yeah.
they are in this car. But I was
Mhm.
like, not only does it not matter if they're in a
Right.
relationship or not, or if they were in a relationship briefly, who cares? But also, it just made me mad of like, they're in a clearly
Yeah.
private location And clearly this is
Mhm.
shot from like very far away because it's not the most, I don't know, clear
It's
picture.
grainy.
It's kind of like
quality, yeah.
grainy. So like it's
Mhm.
clearly shot like on this high lens from a super long distance of like this is super invasion of privacy. And then it blows up everywhere, and I see it all over the place. It's like, will
The
you?
one,
These are just people's, anyone's lives.
Mhm.
it's awful. The one that
Stop.
made me most mad about it was there was this post and it had Tobey Maguire and whoever played Mary Jane in that one, and then Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield, and then Tom Holland and Zendaya, because apparently like the previous Spider-Man also dated their co-stars,
Mhm.
but the pictures of them were in like at public outings, like at movie premieres, at like things like that. And
Mhm.
then the only picture that these people had for like Tom and Zendaya was them kissing in the car. And it's like, do you not see like how gross it is to like invade their like privacy? Like on these other pictures, it's like they clearly don't mind being seen in public.
Yeah.
Like whereas this picture, it's clearly that was like a private moment, and
Mhm.
I don't know, it's gross. Yeah, I guess I'm just like, why does it matter?
Yeah. Who
If they
cares?
have, yeah, like if they have good on-screen chemistry, then like that's what matters, right? Like it shouldn't matter if they're dating or not. Like Gilmore Girls, I love Gilmore Girls. It's so problematic in so many ways, and I can recognize that fully, but also so dramatic and like wonderful. um
Like The
one
Bachelor.
like The Bachelor, but in a much different way. And so one of the main Gilmore Girls, Lorelai, she's the mom but not the grandma. She is like on and off with this like diner owner, right? His name is Luke. um and they like have so much chemistry on the screen, and it's like so impressive. You're like, oh my god, this is just the best romance that has ever existed. Like they would do anything for each other. But it came out like a few years ago that the actual actors hate each other like with a passion. Like they despise each other.
That was a thing on Castle too. That
Oh yeah.
I don't know the now I'm blanking on his name, but the guy who plays
Nathan
Castle, and I
Fillion.
think Nathan Fillion, and then the actually I think Beckett is the female lead.
Uh-huh.
That they hated each other the
Right.
entire time, but there's like a romance between the two, and it clearly built for like the whole time. I don't know, I didn't watch Castle, but that was another
Right.
thing of like, oh no, they hate each other, and then they did a show for like 10 years.
Right. But it's like it like why should it matter like what their outside lives are, so long
Mhm.
as like the thing that we're consuming is good,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I guess
It's just such
that
a
whole
weird
the whole
thing.
thing of like, why do things have to extend into the private lives of people who are involved in the creation of something you like? Like
Yeah.
you saw a movie or show or read a book or whatever, music, and then you're like,
Mhm.
I like this thing, and that could be it. And obviously, there's a whole like fan art and fan fiction and all this other stuff. But
Yeah.
again, this isn't for the most part deeply involved in like private people's lives. It's not
Right.
like you're harassing people on Twitter. You're just kind of enjoying the work, and this is other avenues of enjoyment.
And I think
Mhm.
fan fiction is like a really good point to bring up, because it's like I fully understand being like super invested in characters or like a storyline and being like, I need more of this, because
Mm-hmm.
this is like a story that's just so like good and like speaking to me at the moment. Like I want to either like rewatch it immediately or like know more or like think about more, right? And that's like what a lot of like fan fiction or like comics, or I know that there's like a whole subsection of YouTube stuff where it's like animated comics for different things, like different fandoms. And it's like do that. Like that doesn't hurt a single person. And if anything, it's like letting like a smaller artist or writer practice and get better at what they
Mm-hmm.
want to do. And that's like beneficial to everyone involved. And it's not like harassing an actor on the street being like, hey, tell me who you're dating and tell me like everything you ate today and tell me what you're going to do next and like what's your workout routine. And like, it's like, it's just weird. I
Mm-hmm.
think that it's like you should absolutely just do fan fiction or like comics or whatever. Um, yeah, people are weird. That's the rant. Oh man.
I have a completely different topic that is,
Go for
I guess,
it.
semi-related to this that made me mad earlier this week. I texted you guys. I was like, hey, I have a segment idea for just I
Mhm.
rant about something. And I have many things I could rant about. I had to write them down because things will annoy me and then I'll forget they ever existed. But this is when I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I'm mad about this thing. I gotta write it down or I'll forget I was mad about it. And
Okay.
so what I'm mad about is in our culture, it seems like people can't just not like something. If they watch a show or movie, they can't just be like, I didn't like that thing. They have to be like, I didn't like this thing because it's problematic and morally wrong. And so you also should hate this thing because it's bad. And it's this whole like cancel culture thing. And you see it constantly of shows they'll be like, oh, we're gonna break down to this nitty gritty thing that they did wrong, and so it's problematic, and you shouldn't watch this thing. And it's like, but you can just say you didn't like it. You don't have to like
Mhm.
really grind down into like the weeds and be like, now look, that thing is wrong. And I just see it constantly. And this was sparked because I saw a post on TikTok of someone being like, "In the Heights is bad for." No, not In the Heights. It was Hamilton. Was although I saw it for In the Heights too, and then that got like Miranda's attention. But if it was like a Hamilton thing of like casting, I'm not
Oh,
gonna
I
say it
think I
right.
saw
It was
the In
like
the Heights one.
the In the Heights was people were mad because there wasn't enough Afro Latino
Yeah.
representation, which
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
Which, like,
That
the
seems a bit
Hamilton,
much. And then
Yeah.
Hamilton was
yeah.
like the one that I saw was this woman was unhappy and said it was problematic because of some like you shouldn't put uh, minority characters in like white positions for some reason. And it wasn't this woman was black, so I'm not quite sure. I didn't
Was it the
understand her
thing
point.
like Bridgerton is? Because that I get.
I also don't get the Bridgerton thing. This was also in my list of things that seemed really
fair.
nitpicky and didn't make sense. Like I don't know. I just feel like you can say you didn't like it,
Mhm.
and that's
Right.
that. I can watch something and be like didn't like it, but you don't have to be like it's problematic and there's something inherently wrong with the way they did it. Like
I do have
just
like
don't like it.
questions
Sure.
because like I think I agree, but I also think there are levels to it. Like that are
Well,
some
so
like are like
yes. So
ridiculous.
obviously there'll
Yeah.
be like, oh, there's some like deep racism in the show
Right.
or whatever. And
Uh-huh.
it's like there's like legitimate problematic. And this is a
Right.
big cancel culture thing too, of like
Mhm.
it's kind of deeply tied together of
Absolutely.
how there can be things like someone
Mhm.
raped someone. Like that's awful. They should
Mhm.
be canceled, quote unquote.
Sure.
But there will also be like there was a Charlie D'Amelio drama of I don't remember you were telling
Oh,
us
she
about this,
vaped.
Margot. Or oh, maybe that. And people will be like, cancel. It's like, well
Yeah.
that's really nothing.
Like that's
Yeah.
And
ridiculous.
this happens a
Nicotine is
lot.
forced on kids in this country. I don't know why.
Horrible. No one
Yeah.
also vaping
Mhm.
stupid.
Yeah.
You look like a fool. I
You
just
don't
want you to
look
do it.
fun. It's a USB drive.
Yeah, it's
But
whatever.
like,
People are dumb. But
yeah.
I don't know. You might disagree on the Bridgerton one, but you were telling us about this Bridgerton drama, and to me, this was very much of the thing of like, this doesn't make any sense, and
Well,
there
so I
might be
looked
like a slight problem, but
Mhm.
I don't think
I
it
think it really
bears
just
making it
boils
problematic, and you shouldn't watch it. Like, it's just that whole like tier thing of like um this again too, but for the Star Wars, I just saw a post about how the Star Wars movies, they obviously they treated I don't remember his name, but the actor who played Finn pretty badly, and there's a lot of like racism ingrained there. And I saw
Yeah.
too that they in China they alter their posters.
Oh,
Disney
I
does
saw
at
that.
least to
Yeah.
remove black characters, even
Yeah.
if Black Panther, like the title character, his poster doesn't show his face; it's just the
He's
mask.
wearing the mask.
So
Yeah.
you don't even see that it's a black character, which
Yeah.
that's pretty bad.
It's problematic.
But it's still there's like this removed level of like there can be problematic things, but it really has to be some like ingrained thing, I think, to be like
Sure.
you shouldn't like this thing.
I mean, yeah, I think it depends because like when I think about that, like obviously I do watch Star Wars. Will I be constantly rewatching the sequels? Absolutely not.
But
But
also,
that's
I
not
like the
because,
sequels. It's not
well,
for any
sure,
like, oh, I'm supporting. Oh, John Boyega, that's his name. I'm
John Boyega,
supporting
yeah,
John Boyega because they treated him badly, and I'm sure they did. But
yeah.
I don't know. That's
I
not,
mean,
not going
I
to be
don't
like, oh, it's morally wrong for me to like this thing or not
right.
like
Mhm.
this
Lot to unpack. I don't yeah, I don't like
thing.
the sequels, and so that's just like why inherently I wouldn't constantly rewatch them. Um but I that is like a question where it's like if I really loved the sequels, but I knew like how bad they treated him, like how would that impact my viewing patterns? I don't know. Because I'm not in that situation. Where I am in that situation is like Amber Heard. Like if she's going to continuously be in DC things, I really, have no respect for the woman.
Mhm.
And also think that like she's done very, very problematic things.
Yeah.
And so it's like, how will that impact how I watch things? Will I watch Aquaman 2? Probably not. But also, I
Mhm.
didn't like the first Aquaman.
But
So
but
I don't
that's the
know.
thing too of like
Yeah.
I, I
um,
don't know. I kind of enjoyed Aquaman 1, but I don't
sure.
know if I'd see Aquaman 2. I kind of don't think the DC movies are that great. They
Yeah.
don't tend to really hit their mark. So I don't know if I'd
Mm,
be super interested. But and that's the thing too of like Amber Heard's pretty bad. But I wouldn't
yes.
say that Amber Heard's off-screen behavior rises to this level of making it morally wrong to like Aquaman.
I mean, yeah, morally wrong, I don't know. But I think what it comes down to is the whole like, because of capitalism, like we support people with our dollar kind of thing. And so
Mhm.
it's like if I could watch the movie for free and like not give any royalties, do I feel bad because I'm screwing over a lot of people that aren't Amber Heard? Yes. But then also, is Amber Heard not getting money? Yes. And so it's like a question of like how much people just don't want to give her money. And I get that. But
Mhm.
I want to hop back to the Bridgerton thing for a second, just because like that one,
I mean, I
um,
know we talked about this one at length, not on the podcast. And
yeah,
this was just like I just didn't understand what was wrong with it. So,
right. But like more things have come out
oh,
about
okay.
that, which is why. So like the biggest complaints with it, racially speaking, were one that the people of color um, were typically villains, which is like just inherently one of those things. Were
In
there white
Bridgerton?
villains? Yes. Oh, yeah. Well, because like the Duke was shown to be like the problematic one in the relationship, even
Yeah,
though
I
Daphne's the
guess.
one who
But there's
breaks
also
it.
all the other black characters are not at all.
Yeah. I was
Well,
gonna say I
so
feel
you
like
have his dad,
the
And
Duke's dad, and maybe the Queen. But
the
the
that's
queen.
yeah, you
it.
could say the queen is kind
You
of
also have
villainous.
the girl who tried to trick the one Bridgerton
Oh, that's
brother.
true. I forgot about her.
Um,
The one who was pregnant.
Yep, the one who was pregnant and she tried to trick him
I
into
guess
a
so. But you also
relationship.
have like the boxer
Yeah,
and like
the
his
Oh, the
boxer and
family,
boxer
his
and his
wife,
and
and
you
they
have
were just good characters the whole time. The
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 older
guy who,
woman
Duchess.
yeah.
Yeah.
too. Like
And
I
so
don't know.
yeah, so it's like it's balanced, sure, but then you also have like out of the like leading men of color, right? And leading is a loose term because it's really just like the Duke, and then uh you have his father and his boxer friend. His boxer friend isn't in it much. His father isn't in it much. Um, but it's just like it's a thing where a lot of people were complaining about the fact that like the abusive dad is like the darker skin, like black man. And arguably, I mean, obviously, not arguably, obviously, the boxer friend is also darker skin. But it's like they were just saying that like it's problematic that like 2/3 of like the men of color in this are like toxic, like abusers, or like portrayed in
Yes,
that way.
I guess
And
too.
then
Well, continue. I'll say my piece after.
the other big ones um, were the fact that I know um, from the negative comments that I saw was that like people of color watching the show felt very uncomfortable seeing people of color in historically white outfits and hairstyles, because they felt like it was like not entirely like obviously this is like this is fiction. This isn't supposed to
Mhm.
be like a historical fiction. This is just fiction. Like this is an alternative reality where love
Mhm.
fixed racism.
I
But like,
think maybe a bit
um,
more than that, but they do just kind of gloss over for world building purposes.
they do. And it could have been like colorblind casting, right? Except for the one line where she was like, "We used to have racism, but then the king married a black woman."
Mhm.
And so it's like that's what made it not colorblind casting. But yeah, so like a lot of people were having like issues seeing um, uh, people of color in uh, white outfits and everything. Like it just like felt wrong to them to watch. They were like, it's like the same kind of discomfort that we feel when we see like a white person with cornrows, kind of thing. Like it just feels wrong to see. And it's like that one I can't comment on because like I'm white.
Yeah, I
And
guess
so
I mean
it's
I
like,
can't
I
just
think I
from
right.
might
my
be able to understand that
experience.
one. Yeah.
I guess
Like, do I
guess
get
I
it?
can
I
see.
do. But it's
But I
like,
guess once again, this might be a problem you have, and then you don't like this thing, and then
right.
you move on. But it
Yeah.
But
also doesn't
that's,
mean
yeah,
that other people can't enjoy this thing.
sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Um,
wait, did you have more?
oh, the only other thing was that it was portrayed in a way where the the main couple, right, is a black man and a white woman. And in it he's like taking advantage of her lack of knowledge on sex. Um and so because like both people in the couple are wrong for how they had sex, like that's just inherently true, and I will die on that hill. But like
Nice.
was it hot most of the time except the rape scene? Yes. But was it problematic? Yes. And so a lot of people were very upset that they were portraying like this mixed couple with like the guy taking advantage of like her naive nature and everything, which because like in Hollywood, like the biggest thing where it's like when portraying mixed couples, they typically won't do a black man and a white woman because society is super racist, and like society views that as like a black man taking advantage of a white woman, whereas like a white man dating a black woman is pretty common in a lot of movies. But you know, and
Mhm.
like like the whole mixed couple thing is like it's white men can date any race, and then like black men will typically date um like a Hispanic woman. Like that's a big thing with like Will Smith's rom-coms. um but yeah, so it's like that was pretty much like their complaints with it, and it's like I get it, and it's like I think I just can't relate to them as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
I
Did I?
understand
maybe.
some.
Yeah.
Like that last one, like I don't think it matters on what race the Duke is. That's just the conflict of the situation in the
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
story.
Mm-hmm.
I guess
Um,
so.
yeah.
I was gonna say like I guess you can say something's problematic, but and this ties into the whole thing. Very frequently, people will be like, "Oh, it's problematic for these." Like they'll be, "I can't have a. It's problematic to have a black man in this position."
Mm-hmm.
But at what point? I don't. I'm gonna sound so bad saying this, but I don't want to say like slippery slope, but uh, where does it stop for like this is just a story and these are just characters and characters are flawed and
Right.
both characters are flawed in the situation in different ways. So
Mm-hmm.
why is it problematic just because of his skin color? Like I
Yeah.
don't feel like it doesn't matter. Like I mean, obviously, I'm a straight
Right.
white man. I'm gonna have a different experience watching things than other people. But to me, if you're just however the people are, that's just their characters, and characters are allowed to
Mhm.
be flawed, and that's intrinsically why we like watching things or reading or whatever, because
Right.
Yeah.
you have flawed characters making decisions and progressing and growing as people, and that's the
Mm-hmm.
whole thing. And it feels wrong to me to be like this problematic because this character is flawed. Like, but that's the whole point of every media ever is that the characters are flawed. So
Yeah.
what are you looking for here? Like
I
the
think
Duke, like how would you flip this situation around so it's not problematic? If it was Daphne, they would be like, "Oh, it's a woman doing this, and now that's problematic." Like I feel like there's no way to do it unless you're like, "Oh, now it's a white guy." But then people will be mad that you have white guys all the time because then you want another white, straight white main character because that's like the default. So I don't know. It just
I think
at
I
what
have
point
a
is it
point
just
to
the characters and what point is it
Mhm.
always problematic because of who the character looks like, I guess.
Yeah,
Sure.
I
I want to
think
hear Ryan's point first.
I was
Yeah.
just gonna say I think the big thing is like because him abusing her is the conflict of the situation of like just that's what the story is about. It makes sense that he is just because of the character he is and the situation. If it was a situation of like, oh, this guy's black, let's just throw this in to like push an agenda, then it's obviously wrong. If it
Right.
makes sense, I think it works. But
And
also I think it's a thing of like if this is a like serious trend in Hollywood, like it has been in the past of like
Yeah.
you have like a black man abusing like a white woman was a big thing
Mhm.
in like the 60s.
Absolutely.
Now,
Yeah.
not so much.
No.
If it was still a thing now, then like, yeah, I think it's important to like acknowledge that was a thing in the past, but now it's like you're just trying to tell a story.
I
yeah,
think
and
it's also I liked the point you made, Adam, of like that they do both have like these flaws where it's like so the Duke isn't like explaining what sex is to her and that he does in fact like have the ability to make children.
Mhm.
And like Daphne then like rapes him to prove that he was lying, which is so much more problematic. I'm sorry, but it is. Like I get the argument of like how much it sucks that he didn't explain things to her, but also that's like historically accurate. Um, and while rape is like historically accurate, no matter when, it is just one of those things that's never going to be like, oh, it's fine. She did it to prove a point. Like, who cares? The problem is, I think it's like this power dynamic that it's like when you look though at like the book, um, it's just assumed everyone's white, like the way the book is written, because it wasn't like the adaptation was meant to be this like colorblind casting thing, which again
Mhm.
they messed up. But like, well, because colorblind casting means
no,
that
I get
race
it.
has no impact.
I get it. I
Yeah.
just it's one of those things that I feel like doesn't matter. Like even if it was just colorblind casting and they
Hmm.
just casted whoever for whoever roles, whatever. But they did a different thing. And once
Yeah.
again, I don't think it matters. It doesn't impact anything at all. You still have the same effect of colorblind casting. They just throw in a throwaway line for world building. Oh my god, I can't talk. World building purposes. Like
Mhm.
And
you
I
reach
get
the exact same result as if that wasn't there ever.
I get that, but I think like the point of bringing up that it isn't colorblind casting is that takes away like the only defense, you know? Because like when you're watching these types of things, like representation matters. Like and it's like that's why um I pay attention to like how women are written in things and whether or not it's like can I relate to that, which is I think something that like I do more than you guys do, but that's just because it's like oh like I can put myself in this character's shoes because it's like a woman, right? And that's like slightly more relatable than a man is. But it's just like I don't know, I think that's the kind of thing where it's like people are always like going to care about like how people who look like them are represented in
Right.
media.
I guess that's
But
Um,
true.
it's just the whole thing of like you can't have a story without flawed characters. So
Yeah.
yeah.
if you want that I think representation's amazing.
Mhm.
I am very sick of the straight white guy trope. I like it's very funny when I'm writing something because it's like, oh, how can I make this person anyone other than that? Because it's so
Yeah.
foreign to me.
Mhm.
But the characters are going to be flawed. So I think I just can't get behind the like, oh, they're problematic for this reason when that's the
I
story, I
I
guess. Like,
Yeah.
agree.
how are you going to make them this perfect character? The like Mary Sue, or I don't know if there's a male
Mary Sue.
equivalent.
I think they just
Gary
call them Mary
Stew.
Sues. Oh God.
I
But
was
I
like, I
think
know that Mary Stu is the women role, and that often happens. And like, it's the thing of like, you can't just have perfect characters with
what
nothing
else.
wrong.
But what I'll
Yeah.
say is like I fully agree with what like your point is. It's just that when that's one of the very few things you have, um like those flaws are going to like be talked about more, you know, where it's like um I don't know if you guys have seen Promising Young Woman, really fantastic, but wow, heart-wrenching. Don't watch it if you cry a lot like me. But it's basically it's what you think is going to be like a Tarantino-esque like revenge plot for like women getting raped. But it doesn't end up that way. But in it, they explicitly cast white men who were typically cast in like the quirky friend role, like Bo Burnham is cast in it, right? And it's like you you feel very like empathetic towards these people because you've seen them in a lot of roles that are like uh you know quirky best friend,
Mhm.
and then like you see this like horrible side kind of thing, right? And it's like with like women, right? It's like I can watch a lot of movies and like boil women down to like a few different tropes, you know? It's like, yes, you can do that with men too, but then like within those tropes, you do have a lot more nuances just because there's a lot more like straight white man main characters. And so I think what it is it's just the lack of saturation um, for like women and people of color, so that like when you get a new thing that's supposed to promise like a lot of one of those, it's just like less, you know, like it or I guess it matters more is what I'm
Mhm.
trying to say.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's like I fully agree that like if these characters just existed, like say it was obviously this would make it a gay couple, so that's different, but what I'm saying is like if both of these characters individually of them being together had these types of flaws, but they were straight white men, I don't think people would hate it as much. I think like the problem becomes when that's one of the few like representations you have, uh, and you look at it and you're like, oh, okay, fun. Yeah, that's I think yeah that's the big thing. But like I get the main point though of it just being like um you can easily like I'm still gonna watch Bridgerton season 2. Do I get a lot of the
Yeah.
complaints? Absolutely, I do. I fully
Mhm.
do. Will I still watch the second season? Of course. We were talking about WandaVision before the podcast started, and it's like I do think that there's like problems with the way women are written in that. However, I also loved it. Like I will 100% watch it again. Not soon, but you know at some point. And it's just yeah, like you can still um like things and recognize that they have problems, and you can still just say like I don't like that because of this problem, and I'm not gonna like talk about it a ton. But yeah, I don't know.
I
That's
think
my
it's interesting because, I mean, talking about tropes and stuff, art is derived from art. Like, you're
Yeah.
yes.
always going to
Everything is
compare
derived from
art
everything else.
to
Mhm.
something you've seen before because that's just how our brains work in order to comprehend something that's like, oh, this, it's like this thing in here.
Yeah,
Um, so when we notice these things, we like sort of compare it, which sometimes we make things worse than they are.
right.
Like, I don't know, some of this stuff, like, I agree with, other things I don't, because it's
Right.
like art derives from art. Everyone's going to have a different view of it. Of like, you might like a character for
Hmm.
some reasons because you relate to them more. You might like not like a character because you just don't relate to them at all.
Yeah, or
And
you associate them with something bad.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's just how I think going back, like circling around, like people can like a movie and not like a movie, but it
Yeah.
does sort of seem like people are like trying to find like, oh, this is problematic.
Yeah, I
This
think
is
people,
why.
and this is again a bigger topic, but there's a big thing that happens a lot with younger people. When something is very popular, and obviously not just younger people, when something is very popular,
They
people
hate it because
somehow
it's possible.
feel inclined to hate it for no
Yeah.
reason and then want to justify their hatred of it and then further want other people to stop liking it.
I
And
wonder why
I mean,
that is.
I did that a little
Yeah.
bit when I was in like middle school of like,
hmm
why does everyone hate this thing? You shouldn't. But
It,
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
because
It's
everyone has
so
like the quirky
common.
complex, like when
I
Yeah,
you're younger.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
it's
know.
it's so common where people are just like, oh, everyone likes this thing. Well, I don't, and I'm better for it. And it's like
Right.
let
And
people like
it's
things.
right. Let people like things. And then also, this totally relates back to the first thing we talked about in the podcast. Don't like things blindly. Like you can still like things and still recognize like their shortcomings.
hmm
and that's just as important. And you can also mindlessly
Yeah, I was gonna say
enjoy things.
you can also
Yeah.
like
You can.
all these stuff Bridgerton never
Yeah.
ever would have known about it. I wouldn't have known about it if
Right.
you hadn't told us. And that's true about pretty much everything. I don't usually critically consume content because that's not what I want from the things I watch or
Yeah.
generally watch. Probably reading's different, but I just want to mindlessly watch something. I don't need to critique
Yeah.
it every step
And
of the
that's
way.
totally fair. Like that's, a lot of media consumption is just meant to be like ends at the credits, and so it's like you can totally do that and don't get mad at someone for doing that. But if you like find someone who wants to talk about like, oh, this scene, like Ryan and I, when we were watching the Snyder Cut, we kept talking about like all the Christ imagery and everything. Which like, it's just like one of those things, like you can do that with people, but just make sure that they're like vibing with it. Don't like try to force like, no, but you see Superman with his arms spread out like this. Like, don't try to force it on people who don't want it. But like,
Yeah. I think part of it too is like that even can get into like an art derives from art sort of thing of like maybe you've just seen that in movies and that's just like a pose you think of like someone sacrificing themselves.
Right.
And like it like completely losing the original meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of Zack Snyder's stuff is like there are very much things like I saw one the other day of like I think it's from Man of Steel. It's like Superman sitting at a table with like people and they're all sitting on like one side because it's a news conference and it's very much the Last Supper sort of thing. Zack Snyder's very much intentionally going for that, but like you can have some other things where it's like someone just throws that in and it could be interpreted as that, could be not.
Right.
And that's part of the good thing about movies is like you can interpret what you want.
Yeah, and it's always like fun for me personally. Like I love talking about like movies and like what different shots mean, or like, oh, do you think he was like doing anything with like this type of thing or that type of thing? But like it is also just like know your audience, Like there's plenty of people that I know that I just like shouldn't do that with because they don't care. But yeah, like also I don't know, that's what like the internet's for. Like you can find those people on the internet. They'll fight with you too.
But don't go after people's personal lives.
And don't go after people's personal lives, but then also like don't go after people for liking or for not liking something unless it is just like inherently problematic. If someone's like, I like Amber Heard, then be like, hey, you shouldn't. But then like don't attack them for being a person. Like just say like, hey, this view of yours, it's dumb. End it there. That's the only comment you should make. Yeah. That goes for more than just Amber Heard. But she was just on the line.
What rained on you guys' parade this week? More rants. Ranting also is fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna rant a mini rant. Like every now and then on YouTube, something will just like a small subset will blow up and just appear in everyone's recommended. Like I remember a few years ago, like do you guys remember seeing like the 1,000-degree knife? Like with your stuff?
Actually.
Yeah, and it just appeared in everyone's recommended. No explanation why. Back when Bohemian Rhapsody was coming out, there was a lot of videos like people listening to Queen for the first time.
Oh, sure.
And they get tons of views. And it's like, why is this appearing? A new trend I've noticed is people explaining the plot of movies, but it's like a robot voice, like a text-to-speech sort of thing. And they've got millions of views. I saw one for like the Chris Pratt, Jennifer Lawrence movie in space, had 32 million views. Yeah.
I like that movie.
I never saw it.
It was literally just explaining the movie. And it was like, what?
That's weird. I have seen those videos of like, whatever, explain. And I'm always like, I don't want to watch that. So I just don't know this. But I guess people do. It's not
just discussion about it. It's just going through the plot.
This is what happened in the movie.
And I'm seeing like tons of these now for all these like different movies that have come out in the 2000s, and it's all different channels, and it's all millions of views. And it's like
that's tough.
That's always funny to me when you see something and you're like, why would anyone watch this? And then you look down to the view count and it's got millions of views, and you're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Clearly, this is I see that a lot with like React. Obviously, there's the React channel, but then there's a lot of people that just do like, I read Reddit comments, or I go through a Reddit thread, or people do it to TikToks too, of like reacting. It's like the channel,
sort of. Yeah. I mean, like you've got like some people that I don't know. There's like some react channels where it's just they find random videos on the internet and like talk about it, or just like have something they want to talk about. Then there's other people where it's like they play the video and they just sit there and watch it.
Yeah.
And don't
I
really
figured
add
they
much.
like got replaced by movie commentary people.
Oh, I don't know. My girlfriend and I used to watch the Fine Brothers stuff,
Mhm.
because they have the Fine Brothers channel, and then there's like the React specific channel, and we
Okay.
liked their Try Not to Laugh videos, which I don't think they make anymore because we couldn't find them. But I don't know. I haven't watched them in a long time, maybe a year.
Yeah. I don't know. Fair enough.
Mhm.
I don't know if I really had anything bad, so I'm gonna go with a good thing. To counteract the amount of hate I've given the episode. But I've been able to do a lot more like crafts lately, and that's been
Nice.
fun.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of embroidery and just general sewing, and then I'm also working on like a little like section of like a wallpaper thing, which I think will be cool. It'll be up eventually. We'll see, but I'm excited. Yeah.
Mhm.
Sounds fun.
Also, a good thing for me. I've been enjoying the time off work. The other
Woo!
day, I went down to the beach. I brought my guitar and just played guitar. It was very nice.
Nice.
Yeah. Fair. How about you, Adam?
I feel like there's a lot of annoyances. It's been really, really hot here in Iowa. I guess
Mhm.
maybe my main issue was I brought my PS4 to Iowa with me, and I wanted to play some games, but I don't have a lot of disc games, so most of them are just downloaded onto the PS4. But PS4 does a thing. I think it's anti-piracy, where it's like they have to verify your license to make sure you own the game that you have before you enter into the game. And so then when PlayStation Network is down, you can't access any of your games. And so PlayStation Network was down, at least for me, and I couldn't play any of the games, which was fine. But because my girlfriend was visiting me this weekend, we also couldn't go into like YouTube or Netflix because those are also applications that even if they're free, you have to like verify that you paid the $0 to enter into YouTube or Netflix.
That's so
And it was
annoying.
like, oh, I'm so happy that I brought this PlayStation so we didn't have to hook up my computer to the TV every time for it to not work.
Not work.
Great.
Yeah. Oh man. Fair. Alrighty. Well, bully Jeff Bezos, but don't bully people for liking things.
Oh, I was gonna point that out too. It was like we really started of like bully billionaires, and then we were like, oh, but don't bully celebrities who are also billionaires.
Yeah, but that's different.
So here's the
No,
thing:
I'm just pointing out
celebrities
the little.
aren't making life horrible for everyone else.
Yeah.
Yes, very true.
Olivia Rodrigo, doesn't deserve to be bullied just because she, writes songs.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't bully this 18-year-old girl for just writing good music, but maybe bully this adult
Middle-aged
billionaire who
man.
is exploiting
Yeah.
the overall working class and making life worse for people on planet Earth.
Yeah. And then just like ditching planet Earth.
And
Like
then
what?
ditching.
Yeah, bully Jeff Bezos, but not too many other people.
And we don't need to summarize everything.
No, that's it.
But enjoy stuff. And also, you can
Yeah.
check us out on Instagram, and we have a website, and there's a video version of this podcast if, as everyone does, not watch it, which is fine because, I mean, it is a podcast. Let's do it audio.
It's a podcast. Yep.
But it's there if you want to see what we look like. I think that's that.
Yeah. Have a sunny Wednesday.
Bye.
Bye.